In this video, we're going to talk about mailing your trading cards in an envelope. We're going to especially talk about tracked envelopes. So this is a new thing that has been made available through a few different platforms. eBay offers the standard envelope, Collects offers a standard envelope. A few other marketplaces do the same thing. And what's really great about this shipping option is, unlike a regular envelope with a postage stamp, tracked envelopes allow you to get the same benefits of tracking that you would get when you're sending your mail first class, via Ground Advantage or some other shipping service, but for a lot less money. Usually for less than $1, you can get tracked envelopes. But there are some catches. It isn't always totally straightforward. What types of envelopes work the best? What are the rules? In this video, I'm going to go through all of the rules and regulations around how you want to ship your cards via an envelope. And we're also going to do an exhaustive study and test all of the different envelope sizes, permutations, materials, both packing materials as well as the envelope itself. And we're going to tell you what works and what doesn't. Most importantly, what you can feel confident that you're going to actually get tracking on through the USPS. So let's get started. If you're shipping your cards out with the Collects envelope option, I really recommend that you check out the Marketplace FAQ page on our site, where it's going to basically explain some of the most important things you want to know. In particular, you want to go in here to see what the maximum and minimum sizes for the envelope are, as well as some of the other rules. The ones that we're going to focus on the most are weight, right? As well as the type of envelope, making sure that it doesn't have any special strings and closures, and also making sure that it's basically a horizontal envelope like this, so that the recipient's address is parallel to the envelope's longest side. So go ahead and check this out, but I'm going to walk through some of the other details with you right now. So when you're shipping out via the standard envelope option, whether you get your label from eBay or Collects or elsewhere, typically you're going to get something that looks kind of like this, right? And so whether you print it out on a thermal printer, cut it out of a piece of paper from your printer, the thing I want to point out is this barcode here. It's a pretty unusual looking barcode, and this is the USPS mail visibility barcode. This is what enables your envelope to get tracked by the US Postal Service. However, it only works if your envelope goes through the mail sorting machines. If it is marked as non-machinable, that means that it's going to be pulled out, and it may still reach its destination, but you're not going to get tracking. Why do you want tracking? Well, of course, when you want the person on the other end to be getting updates and notifications that their item has arrived, you too want to be able to get confirmation of delivery. This helps avoid any of those awkward situations where somebody says, "Oh, I never got the package," or "never arrived." This gives you some peace of mind and comfort in knowing that it got there. But it has to go through the mail sorting machines for that to work. So what are the most common reasons why something would be marked as non-machinable or wouldn't go through the machines? Well, first of all, is if you don't follow any of the basic guidelines. If you use an envelope that's too big, too small, as I talked about before, you want to double check the sizes in there. Another thing that you want to be very careful about is weight, right? So I've got a little scale here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just take some of these cards and throw them on and just see. Oh my God, that's 5.5 ounces. That's over the 3-ounce weight limit that you have for an envelope package. There, of course, would be another problem with these cards I just slacked up here. Look at how thick that is. You're talking about you need to be less than 1/4 inch thick for an envelope to be able to make it through the mail sorting machines. If I put an envelope this thick through, it's going to get stuck. It's not going to go through. Probably wouldn't even be accepted as an envelope, period. But it definitely is not going to be machinable. So those are a couple of the most important things that you want to be aware of. Weight, it's got to be under 3 ounces. And second, width of the package. So it doesn't matter. You can still use a bubble mailer. You can still use all different sizes of envelopes. But if you start filling them up with cards and it gets to be super thick, that's going to be a problem. Next thing, let's talk about protecting your cards. You should never, ever mail out any cards without some form of protection. The bare minimum is every card should be in a penny sleeve. But ideally, you would also put that penny sleeve inside of a slightly more rigid protector like a card saver or top loader. Both of these work fine in the standard envelope option. I'm kind of partial to card savers myself, but I know a lot of people prefer top loaders because that's actually how they store their cards in their own collection. Not too many people will put these inside their binders or bins. These are both really good ways to package up your cards and ship them. However, it's important to know that every single thing like this that you add to the card is going to add to the weight. So if you put together, 10 cards in top loaders, you're going to have pretty thick package, and you're also going to have a pretty weighty package. So you got to be mindful of that, and you really probably shouldn't put any more than 3 or 4 top loaders max. You're probably going to be right up against the weight limit when you do that. Another thing that oftentimes comes up when shipping your cards via an envelope is, should I put cardboard around it? Everybody says, oh, of course, put cardboard around it. However, there are different kinds of cardboard. This sort of thicker corrugated cardboard is pretty tricky because it adds a lot of height to the package. So if you put this on both sides of the card, chances are you're going to be outside that 1/4 inch limit. So really, instead, what you want is thinner cardboard. It can still be somewhat rigid. It's got to be pliable enough to still make it through the machines. But cardboard, like poster board, will work a lot better. You can even take cardboard from common household products or packaging. That'll work as well. And that can give it extra protection. So if you're mailing it in a penny sleeve, definitely I would throw it in some cardboard, put some blue painter's tape around it to kind of keep it in place. And likewise, when you're doing a top loader or some other protector, put some extra blue painter's tape on top of that when you're putting it into the envelope. Next, we're going to talk about the different envelope options, and there are a lot, right? These are all relatively cheap. So just like, mailing via an envelope is actually one of the cheaper options, these are also cheaper supplies. We're going to test all different sizes. I personally love using like an A4 size envelope, but we're also going to try an A7. We're going to try, this size envelope, a business envelope. We'll definitely try a padded bubble mailer. Now, again, we're not going to use a super thick padded bubble mailer, but this 5x7, 5x9 poly bubble mailer is pretty good. You can definitely use this to ship cards. And we're going to test all the different internal packing options. So we'll try different cardboard types, try different semi-rigid and rigid top loaders and card savers. And we're going to come back to you once these have all gone through the USPS and report back to you on how they did from a tracking standpoint. Did any of them get marked as non-machinable and not make it through and lose that tracking? And we're going to try and let you know what works best and what doesn't. We'll come back to you in a few days.
4 to 6 days later.
The results are in, and they're really good, actually. Our experiment with envelope shipping, testing a bunch of different options, we got tracking on them all. I'm going to run through a little bit about what we tested and what worked, just so you know that these are all solid options for you when you're shipping via standard envelope. So first of all, we're based in New Jersey. We're shipping to Florida. How long did it take? Well, 5 days for all of the items that we shipped. They took 5 days end to end. They were scanned at the origin post office and then ultimately marked delivered in mailbox after 5 days, and they all got full tracking. So I'm really happy about that. None of these got marked as non-machinable. So again, if you follow these guidelines, you're pretty safe. There are a couple that we're going to give you some warnings on, but just to quickly run through what we did. So first, we shipped in a 6.5 inch envelope with card saver. Most of these, when we were testing, we tested the envelope with a card saver. So with this combination, check. Second, we had an A4 size envelope, also with a card saver. Check. Next, we had a 6x9 larger size envelope with card saver. Check. Then we did an A7, also check. And then we did a number 10 envelope, this regular business envelope, also with a card saver. That went through with flying colors. We tested a rigid photo mailer. Now, this is one of those ones that I'm going to be warning you about a little bit. Some post offices, some machines will mark these as non-machinable, especially if they're super rigid. This one appeared to have enough flex and went through no problem, but this is something to be a little careful about. Not saying don't use these. I'm just saying know that these may sometimes get marked as non-machinable. In our experiment, it went through no problem. Next was the bubble mailer. So we also put a card saver in the bubble mailer. This also went through no problem. Check. Next, we did an A4 envelope with top loaders. We did an experiment where we sent just a single top loader, And then we also stacked in 3 top loaders. Both of those went through no problem. So psyched to see that. Now we also did an experiment where we did an A4 with cardboard. We did both a thin cardboard, like poster board, with our penny sleeve cards. That worked great. So again, you put the penny sleeve in between 2 pieces of cardboard, add some painter tape. Perfect. Again, you can also put it in a top loader. That worked fine. And then the last thing that we experimented with is the much more risky thick cardboard, corrugated cardboard, where we put that inside of an A4. It did go through. It got tracked. Be very careful about this. You have both the risk that with this corrugated cardboard, you're going to be over the 1/4 inch thickness that the USPS will market as non-machinable. And you know, it's also potentially this cardboard can be really rigid. So, you know, sometimes the envelope also won't go through because they don't want totally rigid envelopes going through the mail machines. So happy to report that every single envelope that we tested, every single one of these permutations went through. We may push the limits and test some other things in the future, but for now, you can feel pretty confident that you ship standard envelope using any of those configurations. It should get to the destination. You should get full tracking.